Hello, it's Honey and I'm filming this update in the same week as my birthday, which for those of you who've been following me long enough know that it now means I've been out publicly in transition for a full year, including work and everywhere else, socially, family and everything else. It's all taken care of. Work was initially a year ago, so today I want to sum up some of that experience and what that's been like. I also want to go over residual problems that I'm still having that relate to it, that I'm working towards getting resolved, and what I'm doing to resolve those problems. Also, as always, I've got update on my voice therapy and what's happening with that now. If you're wondering why I haven't done any voice therapy videos yet, it's because it's taken a new swing and a new focus, which I'll go into. And then also I want to talk about a bit of disappointment I've had from the gender clinic, and also just how it's affected me, but also how I can see it would affect other people even more so, that haven't had the same resources that I've had. So they're going to be the topics. So I want to start with having been out publicly in transition for a year. Obviously I started medically transitioning 22 plus months ago now, but it's been out in public a year, socially transitioning as well. For the most part, as I've said in previous videos, it's been great. I'm certainly much happier on a daily basis than I would be otherwise, and things continue to improve most of the time. I've had one or two bad experiences, if not more, but some of which I felt the need to document and are in previous videos, and others that I haven't. But for the most part it's alright. The main residual issue I find, or have found, is that people have picked up my new name almost immediately. It's your name, you tell them what your new name is, they go, right, okay. And literally out of the hundreds of people I work with, maybe one or two fell over it a few times, but for the most part it's really the name's not been an issue at all. It was almost instantaneous. However, pronouns just continue to be a daily struggle and mind boggle seemingly for everyone else. I've tried educating people on one-to-one basis. I have tried asking people politely, I have tried asking people in groups, I have tried educating, I have tried joking, I have tried just straight up telling people that are not getting it. I have tried just about everything I can think of. I'm at the point, especially after recently, I had a new member of staff with me who just could not or would not get it. Especially, we were only together for 2 days, but it was some of the longest 2 days of my life, and he wasn't doing it to be outright abusive or anything. It wasn't malicious, but it was virtually, he either started or ended a sentence with the wrong pronoun all the time, and I tried everything that I've just said before, from just educating him, asking him, telling him, joking with him, berating him, everything. I tried everything. In the end I did inform HR, not to do anything, but I informed HR that I was having an issue and that I was trying to address it myself on a one-to-one basis with him, and I didn't want it to go any further, because he's not being malicious, as I say, but he is just not getting it. It's a real issue for me because obviously it makes me extremely uncomfortable. I've done everything I can, and legally, you know, I am legally female. There is no if, buts or maybes. I've done the paperwork, I've done what I should have done, and therefore legally you should be using the correct pronouns. They know why, they know where it's come from. I've been trying to address it, I've informed them of what I'm doing and how I'm trying to address it, and that it's a situation that is ongoing. Hopefully the next time I run into him it won't be, and you know, maybe they've taken steps on their end to make sure that we don't collide very often, but you know, it was really grating. That was a very specific example, but on a day-to-day basis I work with hundreds of people at the site that I'm at, and I cannot keep up with it. Although people are not daft, I tell 5-6 people a day, but if I don't catch even one member of the group that got it wrong when I was there, it tends to be in groups that it happens the most. One-to-one I think people understand, but whenever people talk about me in the third person, they always refer using the old pronouns. You know, whether I'm in earshot, whether they can see that I'm in earshot, or whether sometimes we're just literally stood in a group of 3 talking, and then somebody will turn to the other one and say my old pronouns or whatever, and it's not necessary. But if I don't catch every member of the group and then talk to them about it, then that member gets away, and then they use the wrong pronoun in front of 3 other members of staff, and they do the same, and then they do the same, and I'm catching like 6 people a day, but 30 people a day are going backwards the wrong way, and I just cannot keep up. I cannot put out the fires of it. And so as for addressing what I'm going to be doing, I've informed my company, HR again, that I'm going to be getting hold of the site, one of the site managers, for want of a better word, one of the site managers, and I'll be sitting him down at some point and addressing him on the situation, and see if he can send out an email to the heads of all the departments to, you know, remind people to pull their socks up and get it right. And it's not just a case of all touchy, isn't she tetchy about it. It's not a case of that. It has been a year now. It's been a constant. I've been patient. I've tried everything, as I've already said. I have been patient enough. To them it's just one slip up, but to me it's them, and then, you know, I walk 50 foot down the corridor or go to another department and it's another person, and then I end up, because I move around the place a lot as part of my job, I go to another department and somebody else or 2 or 3 other people do it, and it's just ever wearing. And so I'm going to ask him if he can send out an email to all the heads of departments, reminding them, the people, that they need to pull their socks up, that it's important they get it right, that I've done, even if they don't make it personally about me, but that just it is expected in the UK, at least because of the Equality Act and all the rest of it, that people be addressed with the pronouns that they want to be addressed by. And that in my case especially, I've made all the legal changes as well. It's not even just my preferred pronouns anymore. They are my pronouns. And so I want to get it up to spec, really. I mean, they wouldn't have it the other way, so I don't see why I should have to put up with it every day. But anyway, pronoun rant over. I've had 1 or 2 other minor issues. The company policy about not being able to wear coloured nail varnish, or in theory any nail varnish. I see other people abusing that rule on a daily basis, but because I'm a contractor on the site, apparently, you know, I'm held to some sort of higher standard, because half of the other people don't get pulled up on it, and if they do, it doesn't make any odds to them. But that's been going on for a while, and that is another thing that just gets me down, because unlike most of these people in the other departments, there's no reason for it. I don't interact with the public in the same way they do, so there's no risk of cross-contamination from me, and I don't handle food either or anything like that. The staff that rule was meant for is meant for people that handle food, and that people that deal with other departments where there can be, you know, cross-contamination or whatever you want to call it, of various things. I know it's like the classic, well, the rules don't apply to me, but in this case it's not just me. They seem to genuinely not apply to half the staff, and then on top of that, I'm being held accountable, and it affects my life outside of work, because it means I can never have a nice coloured nail polish at home and things like that. And it's a lot of what I do on a daily basis. I have to strip off, you know, the makeup comes off at the end of every day, I take out my hair extensions and things like that, and it's just, it all comes off, and then I have to do it all again the next day. Whereas with my nails, I get a nice UV nail polish that's, you know, hard for like 3 weeks at a time, and it's just a part of me that I can keep the way I want it. But no, it just seems like sometimes they're trying to rob me of my femininity, little bits at a time. The uniform, I understand everyone has to wear the same uniform, but it is baggy, ugliest piece of crap. It really doesn't help me portray any of the look that I'm going for, you know. Again, that I don't expect to be treated differently. I just wish the uniform was better, and to be fair, everyone has to wear the uniform, so I shouldn't really moan about that, but it's how I feel. So the next thing I want to talk about was voice therapy, and that I went along this time expecting it to be basically catch up and see what progress I had or hadn't made based on the missing 2 months effectively worth of it, whether or not the extra time and practice had made improvements, or whether or not without her guidance things had suffered. I'm pleased to say that it would appear that my voice continued to improve without her guidance and just the continuous practice, so I suppose in the end it was a good thing. However, we're taking a new tack now. I've been invited to group therapy sessions now, and these will hopefully help to improve my voice by being in a more practical setting and being able to see what other people are doing. It also is nice because all these people are coming from quite a large area down in the southeast corner of England here. They'll include people from Kent, Hastings, Tunbridge Wells and Medway, which is quite a large area, and it'll be nice because I'm not sure how many people will be in the group exactly, but it'll be nice to just meet other people, you know, and see what other people are doing and how they've progressed, and, you know, whether to actually have a gauge against other people, because as I keep saying, I feel like my voice has been feminised, but it's not feminine, and obviously I want it to be feminine. So if I can learn something from this, then all well and good. I've had to take the time off of work for it because it's 4 different sessions spread over once every 3 weeks, and they're all on, unfortunately, on scheduled work days. Now I've taken the time off, and it wasn't too much of an issue. It'll be, as I say, on a 3-weekly schedule, so all my last 4 sessions will be wrapped up in the next 3 months, and then once it's done, it's done. She says she's covered everything she can in 1-to-1 sessions, and it's just time to get some practical experience and see what we are and are not doing as a group. Because for those of you that drive, it's a bit like that. When I'm in a voice therapy session with her, it's like when you drive and you've got your driving instructor in the car. You do everything because your brain's like very aware that you've got this expert effectively next to you, and that you're trying to do the absolute best you can. And then you walk out the office, you know, you might not speak to anyone for 30-40 minutes before, you know, I get home or get back into town or whatever, and immediately, you know, your voice has gotten cold, you run into snags, you start to just trip over yourself, doubt yourself and things, and before you know it, you're not sure what you're doing or if anything that you've done today is right. And so, or sometimes especially if I'm comfortable with people, I have full conversations with people, they walk away and I think, I barely used my voice, maybe for the first opening minute of it, and then I'll let it drop, and then it just stays, you know, not just in tone, but just I just let it drop back to, you know, my default monotone vocalisms and my usual tone itself, pitch or whatever, and it's something I need to address and work on as much as possible. So I am really looking forward to these sessions and just meeting some of my own species, really. The last thing I want to talk about is the gender clinic. I managed to get hold of them this month. I tried leaving voicemail messages too. They actually do say that on the voicemail messages they won't reply if you're inquiring about dates. That's true, they won't. I tried anyway, you've got to. So I tried twice to leave a message and get a response. I didn't. In the end I found other means. I emailed them, and within a few days I actually got a reply to the email, and I was less than overwhelmed with the response. Basically, I signed up with them when I started my hormone therapy privately, and that was June 22nd 2016. I had applied to them in that same month. They got back to me in September 2016 with a positive, yes, you're on our list, thank you very much, we've been referred, we accept you, please wait for your first appointment, we'll contact you. And so I waited the full year, and then I did get hold of them via phone in 2017 September, and they told me that, oh yeah, the waiting lists have increased, it's disappointing, blah blah blah, but we'll probably be speaking to you and arranging an appointment in February or March 2018 for your first appointment. I said, right, okay. Obviously February is gone, and as I'm speaking to you now, in the last week of March, I got hold of them again via email this year, and their response was, oh yeah, we're sorry, waiting lists have continued to grow, blah blah blah. You know, disappointing, funding, yah. And I'm just like, right, okay, so reading through the email, they've said now that they are working through referrals from May 2016, and that they don't expect to start on the referrals that they accepted for September 2016 for another 3 to 4 months, which means that it will have been virtually a whole 2 years. Now, I went specifically for the gender clinic that I chose at Daventry because I have access to transport and I had the willingness to travel, and I wanted a better waiting time than the 2+ years that was being offered to me at my local one, which is effectively London, even though that's 80 miles away. So I accepted them, or went for them, in the hopes that I would actually get somewhere quicker. It would appear that playing the postcode lottery has not worked out for me. I am immensely frustrated by it because I have done so much myself that I wonder sometimes what they will help me with when I get there, other than my lower half surgery, which I am in no terrible rush for. I mostly want my facial feminisation surgery, which the gender clinics, because it's considered cosmetic, especially the soft tissue work, so nose work and lip work, etc., is considered cosmetic. So they will not do that. They might, if I'm lucky, do some of the heavy bone work, so jaw, chin, forehead, things like that, but only might. There's no guarantee, and most of the time the answer is no. So effectively they can't really help me with too much, and that's all well and good for me. However, there are a great many people, and I understand now why the suicide rate, not just around the world, but for so many transgender kids, especially in the UK here, is so high. I am 30+ years old, and I have been lucky enough to find myself in some respects in a situation where I have had spare capital that I could divert it into being able to get my own private doctor for the hormones, to get my own doctor for referrals, to get my own and pay for these referrals. None of this is free. So paying for my own referrals, paying for my own therapy, getting my own diagnosis confirmed, applying for my own voice coach, paying for my hormones every 3 months, paying for laser hair removal. I've been lucky enough that I've been able to do these things. For a great many, especially teenagers that are in higher education or college or university, they have no money like that. They have no access to resources, and in many respects they do not have the support of their family, or quite a few of them won't have the support of their family. And yet, to get these sort of responses where it's just, oh, you're looking at a minimum of a year, it must be soul crunching, and then to just get another 2 delays of 6 months, followed by here's another 3 to 4 months. I can understand why these people end up at wit's end and find themselves on the wrong side of depression and self-harm and everything else. Now, more than ever, people, because of the internet, not because of YouTube videos and everything else, which people like to blame, but because of the internet and the ability to communicate with people like yourself on the other side of the planet, whether or not they're doing podcasts or not or anything else, just people like yourself on the other side of the planet means that these people now have the language and the ability to come forward and find these services and things, so they are applying for them now, and the system is just not working. It is not accepting the load that's being put on it. Even I cannot afford these treatments and surgeries, and I don't know how to put together a case to go to the Supreme Court and apply for my GRC certificate either. These services need to be available for everyone. The same as it would be if you had a drink or drug or abuse of any description problem. They make clinics more often and more readily available, and they do not have 2-year waiting times for these sorts of things. And I do understand how people get to that point, and all I can say is if you are at that point, see if there is anything that you can resolve yourself. See if there's anything at all, whether it's just IDs and name change and things like that. I realise that you might not have time, money and resources, but your dysphoria is your biggest enemy. Anytime you can make a step in the right direction will help. And if you are not finding the support from your family that you need, then the internet is there. And I'm not just on about YouTubers that you can't interact with and things like that other than in the comments. I mean, there are support groups online and things like that. And no, it's not the same as a hug or anything else at the end of the day, but you can at least talk to people about what you're feeling and other people that understand. A year on from my public transition, and this video has touched on some sensitive topics in places and been quite ranty, but it was important, they needed saying, and you can't sugarcoat everything, so it's important that people understand what they're getting into and what help and services they can reasonably expect if you're in the UK. So with that said, I will be back for another update next month. Obviously that will detail my new group voice therapy, which I'm very much looking forward to, and hopefully it'll be a much happier video. And thank you all for watching. Goodbye.